One single piece of fruit, eaten tonight, could change your entire life. That sounds impossible, doesn't it? An exaggeration, but I have seen it happen to more people than I can count. I've seen vibrant, active individuals who, after enjoying a simple piece of fruit before bed as they'd done for years, woke up the next morning in a wheelchair, able to do nothing but stare at their breakfast plate. Their arms and legs wouldn't move. They couldn't form words. I will never, ever forget the look in their eyes. The man I'm thinking of exercised diligently. He never smoked, never drank to excess, but he had one non-negotiable ritual: a piece of healthy fruit every single night before sleep. It's almost unbelievable, isn't it, that a piece of fruit could be the problem, but it's the truth. And far more people are exposed to this danger than you can possibly imagine. The real problem is that absolutely no one ever tells you how serious this risk is. We've all been taught the same story. Fruit is good for you, a natural gift, something you can eat any time without worry. But that is a dangerous oversimplification. The time of day you eat it matters. Asterisk. Which times fruit you eat matters. And, most critically, whether it interacts with any medication you're taking matters. If you are over 60, or if you are taking any regular prescription medication, then you cannot afford to ignore what I'm about to tell you. This isn't just another piece of health advice. This is a conversation about your life. One wrong choice can lead to partial paralysis in an instant. It can steal your ability to speak. In the most severe cases, it can threaten your very existence. I have seen this tragedy play out time and time again. Healthy, happy people who suddenly collapsed, leaving their families stunned and searching for a reason, only to discover later that the culprit was the fruit they ate every night. When I see the look on their faces, the regret, the confusion, it breaks my heart. They were trying to do something good for their bodies, only to learn that their efforts had turned into a poison. In the story that follows, I will explain exactly which fruits are the problem, why they are so dangerous under certain circumstances, and how you can reduce your risk by more than 90%. This is critically important information, so please, listen closely until the very end. Your health, no, your very life could depend on it. Where are you listening from right now? Perhaps you, too, are someone who enjoys a piece of fruit every evening. If you feel comfortable, share where you're from in the comments. And if you could also mention which fruits you eat most often, it would be incredibly helpful for everyone listening. This story begins with my mother. Her name is Eleanor, and she is 73 years old this year. She is the most meticulous and orderly person I have ever known. Her entire life has been a testament to careful health management. Every morning, without fail, she would walk a full lap around her apartment complex. Her meals were always low sodium, eaten at precisely the same times each day. She took her blood pressure medication with the discipline of a soldier. She never touched alcohol or cigarettes in her life. Our friends and neighbors always remarked on her vitality, envying her discipline and her robust health. Honestly, I believed my mother would live to be 100 blanks 400 and blank. She was that dedicated to her own well-being. But even for someone as careful as my mother, a hidden danger was lurking. The problem was her nightly ritual. Every evening, just before bed, she would eat one piece of fruit. She believed it was gentle on her stomach and helped her sleep better. She loved apples. She loved watermelon. She loved grapes. Whatever was in season, she would enjoy it. To her, it was a simple, non-negotiable act of self-care. A dose of vitamins, a healthy habit. Then came the call in the dead of night. It was my father. His voice was trembling, laced with a panic I had never heard before. "It's your mother," he stammered. "She went to the bathroom an hour ago and she hasn't come out." My heart stopped. I told him to break down the door as I threw on my clothes and raced to my car. By the time I arrived, the scene was one of my worst nightmares. The bathroom door was splintered, hanging off its hinges. My mother was lying on the cold tile floor. The moment I saw her, I knew. Her words were slurred, incomprehensible. The left side of her body was limp, her arm and leg unresponsive. The left side of her face drooped, a terrifying mask of confusion and fear. I recognized the signs instantly. It was a stroke. We called 911, and the minutes waiting for the ambulance felt like an eternity. At the hospital, our fears were confirmed. The official diagnosis was an ischemic stroke. We were lucky, because my father had acted quickly. We had gotten her to the hospital within the crucial golden hour, and the doctors were able to minimize the long-term damage. There was no permanent paralysis, but the memory of that moment still sends a chill down my spine. If my father had waited just a few minutes longer, if the stroke had been just a little more severe, I can't bear to think about it. At first, we were completely baffled. What could have caused this? She was the picture of health. Her blood pressure was managed. She exercised. Her diet was pristina. But as I sat by her hospital bed, replaying her daily routines in my mind, one thing kept coming back to me: the nightly fruit. I started digging. I spoke with specialists, scoured medical journals, and read through clinical studies, and then the picture became terrifyingly clear. The combination of fruit with a diuretic effect, eaten right before bed, along with her blood pressure medication, had created a perfect storm inside her body. Eating the fruit made her get up to use the bathroom several times during the night, causing her to lose water. As her body became dehydrated, her blood grew thicker, sludgier. It became a breeding ground for clots. On top of that, her blood pressure medication would lower her pressure while she slept, further slowing her circulation. It was a recipe for disaster. Thick blood, moving slowly through her arteries, just waiting for a place to get stuck. Please, do not take this story lightly. I need you to listen to the very end, because this exact scenario might be playing out on your parents' dinner table, or even in your own kitchen, right now. Do you eat fruit every night? Do you encourage your aging parents to do the same? If so, you need to understand the risks. This information can transform how you manage your health, and it's a crucial piece of wisdom that can protect you and the people you love. The 6 risk factors and the practical solutions I'm about to share could render all your other health efforts meaningless if ignored. It's a small change in your routine, but it could prevent a catastrophe. So, let's break down, one by one, the ways that fruit, consumed incorrectly, can become a direct threat to your brain health. First, let's talk about the problem of a rapid blood sugar spike. Many of us assume that because fruit is a natural food, its sugar is harmless and can be eaten any time. That is a dangerous misconception. When you eat high-sugar fruits like apples or grapes at night, especially on an empty stomach, your blood sugar shoots up dramatically. Why is this a problem? Because a rapid increase in blood sugar causes inflammation in the endothelial cells that line the inside of your blood vessels. A study published by researchers at Johns Hopkins University showed that consuming high glycemic fruits alone in the evening significantly accelerated damage to the vascular endothelium. Think of the endothelium as a thin, delicate lining, like Teflon, that protects the inside of your arteries. When this lining gets damaged, it becomes rough and sticky, making it easier for blood clots to form and for atherosclerosis, the hardening of the arteries, to progress. I learned about a man named Robert Thompson, a 74-year-old retiree. He had been eating one large apple every single night, believing he was doing his body a favor, but for months, he'd been waking up with dizzy spells. He brushed it off as a simple sign of aging, but when he finally went to the doctor, an MRI revealed something startling: the telltale signs of multiple, minor strokes that had already occurred. Tiny blood vessels in his brain had been clogging and clearing over and over, leaving behind a trail of microscopic damage. His nightly apple, spiking his blood sugar while he slept, was slowly scarring his brain. This is why high-sugar fruits like apples and grapes should be eaten in the morning or immediately after lunch. When you eat them after a full meal, the other nutrients in the meal slow down the absorption of sugar, causing a much gentler rise in your blood glucose. Never eat fruit by itself as a late-night snack. This is especially critical if you are pre-diabetic or have high blood pressure. Are you someone who eats fruit alone in the evenings? The second major issue is dehydration and blood concentration caused by the diuretic effect of certain fruits. We all love fruits like watermelon and pineapple. A cold slice of watermelon on a hot summer day, or a sweet chunk of pineapple in the winter, they're delicious. But these fruits are powerful diuretics. In simple terms, they make you go to the bathroom a lot. So what happens when you eat them at night? You find yourself waking up multiple times to urinate. As you sleep, your body is continuously losing fluid. The problem is, you're not just losing water. You're also losing essential electrolytes. This process makes your blood thicker and more concentrated. Imagine making a soup and letting too much water boil off. It becomes a thick, heavy sludge. Research from the Cardiovascular Center at the Cleveland Clinic has shown a direct and powerful link between nighttime dehydration and the incidence of strokes in the morning. In fact, strokes are most common between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m., a phenomenon directly attributed to the dehydration that occurs overnight. As your blood thickens, clots form easily, and one of those clots can travel to your brain and block a vital artery. There was the case of an 81-year-old man named Frank Davis. Every night during the summer, it was his habit to eat a big bowl of chilled watermelon to cool down before bed. One morning, he tried to get up to go to the bathroom and collapsed on the floor. He was rushed to the hospital, where doctors diagnosed him with an early-stage thrombotic stroke. He was fortunate they caught it early, but a slight delay could have been catastrophic. Therefore, fruits with a strong diuretic effect should only be eaten during the day. When you're active during the day, you naturally remember to drink water and replenish your fluids. But at night, you don't. If you do eat these fruits during the day, make sure to compensate by drinking plenty of water or an electrolyte-rich beverage. This warning is doubly important for anyone already taking diuretic medications or for those with weakened kidney function. Are you still eating watermelon or pineapple at night? Third, and this is something almost no one knows about, is the interaction between fruit and medication. This is critically important. Did you know that fruits like oranges, grapefruit, and mango can interfere with the enzymes in your liver that are responsible for metabolizing drugs? Your liver is the primary organ that breaks down medications. Certain fruits can block or inhibit this process. So what happens? The medication isn't broken down properly. This can lead to a dangerous accumulation of the drug in your system. Or, conversely, it can cause the drug to break down too quickly, rendering it ineffective. Grapefruit is notoriously problematic. A report published by the American Pharmacists Association revealed that grapefruit juice can increase the absorption of certain cholesterol-lowering statin drugs by more than 3 times professor date. 3 times. That's the equivalent of taking a triple dose of your medication. Let me tell you about Sarah Rodriguez, a 77-year-old woman. Every morning, she would drink a large glass of fresh orange juice while taking her high cholesterol medication. She thought she was being healthy, getting her vitamins and her medicine in one go. But after a few days, she started experiencing severe dizziness and trembling in her hands. She went to the hospital, and blood tests revealed that the concentration of her medication was at a toxic level in her bloodstream. This is why you must consume fruits like grapefruit and oranges completely separately from your medication times. You need to leave a gap of at least 2 hours between the two, and if possible, don't eat these fruits alone on an empty stomach. Have them after a meal. This is especially vital for anyone taking statins for cholesterol, blood pressure medications, or aspirin-based drugs. Have you ever checked the compatibility of your medications with the fruits you eat? The fourth danger is the risk of excessive blood thinning. Fruits like cherries and pineapple contain compounds that naturally thin the blood. Normally, this can be a good thing, as it helps with circulation. The problem arises when you are already taking a prescribed blood thinner, like aspirin or warfarin. A study released by the American Heart Association found that a compound in cherries called salicylate, when taken in conjunction with aspirin, can more than double the risk of bleeding. Think about it. Aspirin is already thinning your blood. Then you add cherries, which also thin your blood. Suddenly, your blood becomes too thin. A minor cut might not stop bleeding. Your risk of internal bleeding skyrockets. There was an 84-year-old man, George Miller, who absolutely loved cherries and ate a bowl of them every day. He was also taking a daily low-dose aspirin for heart health. One day, he got a nosebleed that just wouldn't stop. He became extremely dizzy. At the emergency room, Tests showed his platelet function was dangerously low. Therefore, even if you love them, fruits like cherries and pineapple should be eaten in moderation, maybe once or twice a week, and only in small quantities. If you are taking any anticoagulant or antiplatelet medication, you must be extremely careful. Have you noticed that you've been bruising more easily lately, or getting frequent nosebleeds? If so, it might be time to take a hard look at your fruit consumption. Fifth is the problem of vascular irritation from high-sugar fruits. Modern fruits like mangoes, Zerten grapes, and specialty apples like the Honeycrisp are incredibly sweet. They're delicious, but their high sugar content not only spikes your blood sugar, but also directly irritates the walls of your blood vessels. A research team at a major university hospital in Tokyo found that a group of subjects who frequently consumed these high-sugar fruits had significantly higher markers for microvascular inflammation compared to a control group. Your microvessels are the tiniest blood vessels in your body, responsible for delivering oxygen and nutrients to every cell, especially in your brain. When these tiny vessels become inflamed, blood flow to the brain is compromised. I heard about a 7-8-year-old man named David Chen, who adored sweet grapes, like the ones often imported from Asia. He would eat a whole bunch of them every day. After a while, he started experiencing numbness in his hands and occasional slurring of his speech. He initially dismissed it, but a trip to his doctor led to a diagnosis of a transient ischemic attack, or THANKS, in advance often called a mini-stroke. It's a critical warning sign that a major stroke could be imminent. You have to be very careful with these intensely sweet fruits. If you're going to eat them, have only a very small portion, and always eat it right after a full meal. Never eat a large amount at once. This is especially true if you have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, or a family history of stroke. Have you ever checked the sugar content of the fruits you eat regularly? The sixth and final risk is potassium overload and the risk of cardiac arrhythmia. Everyone loves bananas, right? They're packed with potassium, an essential mineral that helps regulate blood pressure. But for people with weakened kidney function, this same potassium can be toxic. When your kidneys aren't working at full capacity, they can't effectively filter out excess potassium from your blood. This leads to a condition called hyperkalemia, where potassium levels in the blood become dangerously high. When that happens, it can interfere with the electrical signals in your heart, causing an irregular heartbeat or arrhythmia. A report from the National Kidney Foundation stated that among adults over 65 taking certain blood pressure medications, a staggering 22% experience arrhythmias related to high potassium. That's more than 1 in 5 people. A 6-9-year-old man named Michael Peterson was taking blood pressure medication and, because he heard it was healthy, ate 1 banana every single morning. He started experiencing heart palpitations and severe dizziness. At first, he thought it was a problem with his blood pressure and took more of his medication, which only made the symptoms worse. A blood test at the hospital revealed his potassium levels were far above the normal range. Therefore, you should limit your intake of bananas to half a banana a day. At most, if you have a pre-existing heart condition, you should probably avoid them altogether. And if you are taking diuretics or blood pressure medication, you must have your potassium levels checked regularly. Are you someone who eats a banana every day? If so, it's time to cut back. Those were the 6 major dangers that nighttime fruit consumption poses to your brain and vascular health. Now, let's shift from the problem to the solution. I'm going to give you specific, practical steps you can take, starting today, to enjoy fruits safely. These aren't difficult changes, they're just small shifts in your habits. We've talked about the dangers, so now let's talk about how to avoid them. Please remember these tips and put them into practice. First and foremost, eat your fruit during the daytime. This is the single most important change you can make. During the day, your body's metabolism is active and your insulin response is much more stable. If you eat the same piece of fruit during the day, your blood sugar will rise gently. If you eat it at night, it will spike. This is because at night, your body enters a rest and repair mode. Hormone secretion changes, and your metabolic rate slows down. Furthermore, during the day, you're active, you're walking, doing chores, maybe exercising, the sugar from the fruit is immediately used for energy. But at night, you're not active. That sugar sits in your bloodstream, putting a strain on your blood vessels for hours while you sleep. This continuous irritation is what damages the delicate lining of your arteries. Eating fruit on an empty stomach late at night is the absolute worst thing you can do. The most dangerous time is a few hours after dinner. When you feel a bit hungry again, limit your fruit intake to the morning or the time between breakfast and lunch. The best time is about 30 to 60 minutes after a meal. The food from your meal will mix with the fruit, ensuring a slow, steady digestion. When do you normally eat your fruit? Try changing the time. Starting today, you will feel a significant difference. Second, always pair fruit with a protein or a healthy fat. When you eat fruit by itself, its sugar is absorbed very quickly. But when you eat it with protein or fat, it slows down the entire digestive process, which helps to buffer the rise in blood sugar. It's like installing a speed governor on your digestive system. For example, eat fruit with plain, unsweetened yogurt. The protein in the yogurt will significantly slow down the absorption of the fruit's sugar. A slice of cheese also works wonderfully. Cheese contains both fat and protein, which are excellent for blood sugar control. A small handful of nuts is another fantastic option. Just 3 or 4 almonds or walnuts is enough. The healthy fats in the nuts will not only keep you feeling full, but will also stabilize your blood sugar. In one study, when subjects ate fruit alone versus fruit with a handful of nuts, the blood sugar spike was 40% lower in the group that ate them together. This prevents the blood sugar roller coaster, that sharp spike, followed by a crash which puts immense stress on your blood vessels. Are you eating fruit by itself? From now on, try pairing it with yogurt or nuts. Third, choose fruits that are lower on the glycemic index. Not all fruits are created equal. Some raise your blood sugar quickly, while others do so much more slowly. The glycemic index, or GI, is a measure of how quickly a food raises blood sugar. The lower the GI, the gentler the effect. Low GI fruits include berries like blueberries and strawberries, as well as kiwi and green apples. These can be eaten without causing a dramatic spike. On the other hand, fruits like sweet apples, grapes, and mangoes have a high GI. Watermelon is also surprisingly high. This doesn't mean you can never eat high GI fruits. It just means you have to be careful with the portion size and always eat them with other foods. Instead of eating a whole bunch of grapes, have just a handful. Instead of a huge wedge of watermelon, have one small slice. Whenever possible, make low GI fruits your default choice. You can easily find a chart of the glycemic index of fruits online. A GI of 55 or below is considered low, while 70 or above is high. What's your go-to fruit? Take a moment to look up its GI. You might be surprised. Fourth, ensure you are getting adequate hydration. This is so simple, yet so many people overlook it. Some people think that because fruit contains water, they don't need to drink as much. This is a mistake. The water in fruit is often quickly flushed out of your system, especially with diuretic fruits. They can actually rob your body of hydration rather than replenish it. Dehydration significantly increases your risk of blood clots. When your blood is thick, it doesn't flow smoothly. It gets caught in narrow passages, and that's how a clot forms. As we age, our sense of thirst diminishes. By the time an older person feels thirsty, they are often already dehydrated. So, after you eat a piece of fruit, make it a habit to drink a full glass of water. Lukewarm water is best, as very cold water can sometimes be a shock to the digestive system. If you've been exercising or sweating a lot, consider an electrolyte drink. You should be drinking a minimum of 6 to 8 glasses of water a day, which is about 1.5 liters. Are you drinking enough water? Starting today, after every piece of fruit, drink a glass of water. Fifth, if you are on any medication, you must check for fruit compatibility. I cannot stress this enough. As we discussed, some fruits can interfere with liver enzymes and alter the effectiveness of your medication. This is incredibly dangerous. It's especially important for people taking blood pressure medication, cholesterol-lowering drugs, aspirin, or other blood thinners. It's best to avoid grapefruit and oranges if you are on these medications. If you absolutely must have them, wait at least 2 hours between taking your medicine and eating the fruit. The next time you pick up a prescription, ask your pharmacist, are there any foods or fruits I should avoid with this medication? They are trained professionals who can give you detailed advice. Don't be embarrassed to ask. It's your health on the line. Are you taking medication and eating fruit at the same time? Please call your pharmacy today and ask. Finally, the 6th tip is to stop eating fruit every single day. Adjust your intake to 3 or 4 times a week. Many of us grew up with the saying, "An apple a day keeps the doctor away." But that was advice from a different era. The fruits of today are not the same as the fruits of our grandparents' time. They have been selectively bred for sweetness, and their sugar content is often more than double what it used to be. Eating them every single day can have a cumulative negative effect. Your body needs a rest. Constant stimulation of your blood sugar from daily fruit can fatigue your pancreas and your blood vessels. It can lead to insulin resistance, a precursor to diabetes. Every other day, or once every 2 days, is a much healthier frequency. And don't just eat the same fruit over and over. Rotate through different kinds. An apple today, a kiwi in 2 days, some strawberries after that. This prevents the overconsumption of any single compound and ensures you get a wide variety of nutrients. Try planning out your week. Fruit on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday. On the other days, get your vitamins from vegetables, like tomatoes, bell peppers, carrots, and cucumbers. Are you eating fruit every day? Try cutting back, starting today. If you just follow these 6 rules, you can dramatically reduce the risks associated with eating fruit. It isn't hard. You just have to change your habits, one step at a time. To summarize what we've learned today, the key takeaway is that eating fruit at night is not a simple habit. It's a potential risk factor that can silently damage your vascular system. So many of us believe that fruit is unconditionally good, that it can be eaten anytime. But that's not true. When you eat it, what kind you eat, and how you eat it, are all critically important. Do you remember the story I told at the beginning, the healthy man who ended up in a wheelchair, or my own mother, who lived a life of perfect health for 73 years, only to be brought to the brink of disaster by her nightly fruit habit? We were lucky. We caught it in time. But I share her story because I want to prevent the same thing from happening to you or someone you love. The difference between a dangerous misconception and proper management is vast. The misconception is that fruit is always good, that it helps you sleep, that more is better, and that it has no relationship with medicine. The correct approach is to eat fruit only during the day. Pair it with protein or fat. Choose low GI options. Check for medication interactions. Eat it in moderation. And always follow it with water. If you manage it incorrectly, the consequences are terrifying. Blood sugar spikes that damage your arteries, dehydration that thickens your blood, drug interactions with severe side effects, increased bleeding risk, vascular irritation, and cardiac arrhythmias. These things don't happen overnight. The damage accumulates slowly, silently, over months and years, until one day the system breaks. And that break often takes the form of a stroke. But when you manage it correctly, the outcome is completely different. Your blood sugar remains stable. Your vascular health improves. Your medication works as it should. Your circulation is smooth. Your brain receives the oxygen and nutrients it needs. And your risk of stroke decreases by as much as 90%. That is not an exaggeration. It is based on clinical data. A tiny change in habit, eating fruit in the afternoon instead of at night, can completely alter the course of your life over the next 10 or 20 years. It can be the difference between playing with your grandchildren and being confined to a hospital bed. That choice is in your hands, right now. So here is my simple suggestion that you can implement today. Tonight, do not eat fruit before you go to bed. Just that one thing. Don't eat fruit at night. If you can make that one change, you will have already taken a massive step toward protecting your brain health. Is there fruit waiting for you in the refrigerator? Save it for tomorrow morning. And tomorrow, Have it after your breakfast, perhaps mixed with some yogurt or alongside a few nuts. You will start your day feeling lighter and more energized, with stable blood sugar and a clear mind. It's not complicated. It doesn't cost any money. You just have to change the time. I encourage you to choose one practice you can start today and share your commitment. It could be as simple as, starting tonight, no more fruit after dinner, or I'm switching my fruit to after lunch. Your declaration can inspire someone else. Let's support and encourage each other. Doing this together makes it so much easier. And if this story has been helpful to you, please share it. Send it to your parents, your siblings, your friends. Your small act of sharing could save someone's life. I have received so many messages from people who have changed their habits after hearing this information and have seen their health markers improve dramatically. You can be that person for someone else. Think about it. 1 month from now, 3 months from now, you will feel the difference. You'll wake up feeling more refreshed. You'll have more energy throughout the day, and your numbers at your next checkup will show the improvement. So, I'll ask you one last time, what are your thoughts after hearing all of this? Were you someone who ate fruit every night? For how many years? And what change will you make, starting today? Your story matters. It could help someone else who is in the same boat. Please, take care of yourselves. Starting tonight, no more fruit at night. Eat it during the day, and eat it wisely. Thank you for listening.